himself standing under the bright studio lights, facing Jonathan Ross. He looked out into the audience, seeing Raquel and Damien cheering him on. He sailed through the early rounds. Kilimanjaro. Any idiot knew that. The state President Kennedy was born in. He used a shot in the dark and guessed Florida. He was wrong, it was Texas, but he was still in the game. Then came the 50,000-pound question. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and The Enchantment? Jonathan Ross asked, was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Del froze. He looked at the options. He felt the sweat pricking at his hairline. He needed his SOS. He needed the one person he could always rely on for a bit of book learning. I'll call my brother, Rodney, Del said. The phone rang in the flat. Rodney, currently dressed as a Roman gladiator for a fantasy therapy session with Cassandra, who was dressed as a policewoman, answered the phone. Hello, Rodney, it's Jonathan Ross. Oh, piss off, Mickey Pears. Rodney snapped before realizing it actually was the BBC. The question was relayed. Rodney, the man with 2 GCEs, the man who had read The Guardian at least twice, didn't hesitate. It's Ravel, Del, 100%. You heard the man. Del shouted to the studio. It's Ravel. I know my classics. The silence that followed was agonizing. Jonathan Ross looked at Del with a pitying expression. I'm afraid it was Segovia. Rodney was wrong. Del's world collapsed. He had been so close. He had felt the gold in his hands. He walked off the stage, a broken man, leaving his family and his dignity behind in the studio. Chapter 6, The Ravel Twist. Hours later, Del wandered into the flat. His shoulders slumped. Raquel and the others were already there, the atmosphere thick with disappointment. I'm sorry, Raquel, Del mumbled. I could have sworn it was Ravel. And so could I, Cassandra sighed, still adjusting her police hat. Well, you're both dipsticks then, aren't you? Del snapped, his old fire returning for a brief moment. Everyone knows Ravel makes shoes. It was a trick question. He sank into the sofa, defeated. But then the phone rang. Hello. Yes, this is Derek Trotter. What? No. Del's face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions. Shock, disbelief, and finally, a grin that could light up the whole of South London. He says there's been a mistake. It was Ravel. The researchers got it wrong. I've won the 50 grand and I'm going back on the show for the 100. The room erupted. Cheers, hugs, and the sound of Rodney falling over his own gladiator sandals. We're back, Del shouted, punching the air. Who do you people think we are? We're the Trotters. This time next year, we'll be millionaires. In the distance, the jukebox from the Nag's Head seemed to play a celebratory tune. The suitcase was in the van, the dreams were back on the table, and in the heart of Peckham, the legend of the Trotters continued. As Dell always said, bonjour. Only Fools and Horses, The Trotter Chronicles. A novelization of If They Could See Us Now. Chapter 1, The Echoes of a Suitcase. The yellow Reliant Regal Supervan 3 rattled through the streets of Peckham, a three-wheeled relic of a bygone era that refused to die. Inside, the air smelled of stale cigars, knockoff perfume, and the faint, lingering hope of a man who believed that this time next year we'll be millionaires, even though, technically, they had already been millionaires and lost it all. Derek Delboy Trotter gripped the steering wheel with fingers adorned with rings that caught the pale London sun. He was humming a tune, a rhythmic cadence that mirrored the ups and downs of his life. It was a song about suitcases and mysteries, about the changing seasons and the tides of the sea. It was the anthem of the street trader, the philosophy of a man who lived by his wits and his hooky gear. I'll fetch the suitcase from the van, Dell muttered to himself, his voice a gravelly baritone. 'Cause if you are the bestest, but you don't ask questions, then, brother, I'm your man. Beside him, Rodney, his younger brother, the one with the GCEs and the sensitive disposition, looked like he was about to have a nervous breakdown. Rodney was staring out the window at the familiar gray blocks of Nelson Mandela House, his lanky frame cramped in the passenger seat. "What's up with you, Rodney?" Dell asked, glancing at his brother. "You look like a dog that's just realized the cat's got the house keys." "I'm a bit nervous, that's all," Rodney replied, his voice thin. "I mean, this bloke we're going to see, this Justin, he's a documentary filmmaker. Dell, a professional. He's not going to be asking me anything about my private life, is he? My marriage? My problems?" Dell gave a dismissive wave of a gold-clad hand. "Of course he ain't. We're not that private, are we? I mean, everyone in the Nag's Head knows your business. He's not going to want to know about you and Cassandra's little hiccups in the bedroom department." Rodney stiffened. "What hiccups? Me and Cassandra haven't got any problems. And I told you that in confidence, Dell, strict confidence." All right, keep your hair on," Dell chuckled. "I'm not going to be telling him about jiffins and things, and I won't tell him what Cassandra wears, either, unless he asks, of course, for the sake of the narrative." They arrived at the office building, a glass and steel monolith that screamed success in a way the Trotters no longer did. They were here to tell their story, the rise, the fall, and the inevitable restructuring. Chapter 2, The Race on the Adder. The office of Justin, the filmmaker, was sterile, minimalist, and terrifyingly modern. Justin himself sat behind a desk that probably cost more than Dell's entire inventory of digital watches. "Sorry to keep you waiting," Justin said, not looking particularly sorry. "It's been a particularly busy morning. Now, I've got all the basic details about your business career,